All right, welcome back everybody. I hope you guys got some value out of that first 30-minute video. In that video, we talked about why and when you would want to use Microsoft Word, and we covered some of the main elements within the Word screen. Just to recap, if you follow my pointer there, these are going to be your tabs across the top. All right, we're going to go to those for different functions. We're spending most of our time right now in our Home tab and in the File tab as we move to try to print something. We'll explore some of those other tabs in a little bit more detail later on in the class. This is going to be your ribbon where you're going to do most of your formatting and making any changes to text within your document, and we got started with doing some of that. We're going to spend a lot more time in this video covering things like editing, copying and pasting, reformatting, inserting things like bullets or graphics, and working with themes today. So we're going to spend a lot more time within this ribbon, performing some of the functions within that. The groups, these are your various groups at the bottom of your ribbon, including your clipboard, font, and paragraph, and styles grouping that we will use quite a bit as we move into our editing. Some of the other key portions I wanted to remind you of, your rulers. Again, if you don't have those visible, you want to go onto your View tab, click the ruler box so that you can see those. We will be moving into setting some margins later on in this video, and so you will need those rulers on to be able to do some of that. So as of right now, you should have a Word document that looks a lot like this one here on the right. You can also see that an example of that within your section 1-5 module. And we're going to get started at the beginning of section 1-5 as we start to talk about how we might want to select text to perform changes to it and manage some of the show hide formatting, which we have not talked about as of yet. So let's get started with today's lesson, and I will again try to keep this video to about 30 minutes. Okay, the first thing we want to do is begin to look at some of the different ways that you can select text to make changes to it. So as you scroll down in your textbook, you can see that in table 1-4 there, we have got some methods for selecting text. Okay, so let's say we move over to our document and we wanted to make some changes to it. Okay, if we wanted to select this first paragraph, we've got a couple of options to make changes to it. We can either move our cursor just to the left of the, click it one time, drag and hold, and you've selected that entire first paragraph. If you wanted to, say, make that bold or change the margins or create a tab for that paragraph, that would be how you would want to do that. Let's say we wanted to make changes to a particular word. Maybe we wanted to bold it, so we wanted to make changes to the word creative here in our first paragraph. Okay, put your cursor onto that word. You can double click it and it will select the entire word. Okay, or let's say we want to change an entire line of text. Then you would want to move your cursor out here to the left of that line. Okay, so we will click one time to unselect the word word. Let's say we wanted to make a change to this entire first line. We can move the pointer to the left. All right. Click one time, you will select the line. If you were to double click, you will select the entire paragraph. Okay, or if you want to put your cursor and you wanted to select the entire paragraph, you can hover over anywhere in here, all right, and then triple click, and that will select the entire paragraph. So that is a couple different ways to select text to begin to make changes to it. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about is the show hide button. And as you come over here to your Word document, with me minimizing the screen, as of right now, you do not see the show hide button, so I'm going to maximize my screen for a second just so you can kind of see it. All right, and when you do so, okay, now I've got the entire Word panel up there, and in your paragraph grouping here, you'll see a button that looks like a little backwards P. Okay, that's going to be your show hide button. So as you are wanting to make changes to a document, or maybe a document doesn't appear the way you would want it to, there's a line in the wrong space, you can't figure out what's causing it, you would want to hit that show hide button, and that is going to bring up all of the places where you would potentially hit a tab button or hit the return button or made editing changes, and you can see those marked with those little backwards P's there on my document. That would allow you to see what is going on within your document if you are trying to make changes to it and can't figure out what is going on. All right, so I'm going to keep our formatting marks on for the time being. We're going to move down to step 2 in section 1-5. It says to click before the JCL managers. Okay, so we're going to put our cursor just to the left of JCL managers. It says then drag the pointer over the text to select it. Okay, so we're going to put our cursor right before JCL managers. We're going to click the left button on our laptops one time, and then drag across to select JCL managers. Okay, and you can see that you have now selected that. And we want to make a change to JCL managers, and we want to type creative staff. Okay, so with that selected, we don't need to hit the delete key. We can just go ahead and begin to type creative staff, and it will overwrite what you have there and put in creative staff to our to line. Okay, step 4 says we're going to double click Dawn and type your first name, and double click LaPointe and type your last name. So let's go to our document. We'll double click to select Dawn. You can just type in your first name, double click LaPointe to select that, just type in your last name. You can see that you are automatically overwriting the information there. You don't need to bother with hitting the delete key and then typing in new information. It will all take care of that for you. Okay, step 5 says place the pointer in the margin to the left of the RE line. So we're going to move our cursor or our insertion point here. You should see an arrow when you've got it out there. We're going to select that entire line. So let's double click out there and you will see that it will select that entire line. All right, and we're going to go ahead and type in RE : tab, and this is now going to be about the recruitment tips web page. And you can see that I had a misspelling there, so it's going to show up in red lines. You can right click, see how that should have been spelled, and go ahead and select that. Or you can be a better typer and not have to worry about it. Okay, step 6 says we're going to select the sentence that begins with Anna Jokarts has been hired to draft content. Okay, so a couple of ways to do that. Again, you can click and drag, and we're going to delete that. Make sure you get rid of the period that's at the end of it. Step 7 says we're going to click after the period at the end of the second paragraph. Okay, so we're going to come down here to the end of our second paragraph, and we're going to type in see www.w3.org for more information. Period. You can see that as you were typing that, Word automatically identified that you were putting in a website. Okay, and you can see from that blue formatting there that it automatically created a hyperlink for you. All right, so that is great if that's what you wanted it to do. But if that is not what you wanted it to do, you're going to need to go ahead and remove that hyperlink. So step 8 says we're going to right-click our hyperlink. You see that that's going to bring up that mini menu there. And we want to remove the hyperlink because we do not want this to be a hyperlink in our text. So we're going to go ahead and left-click there and select that. And you can see that that then returns it to normal formatting and removes a hyperlink for us. Okay, at this point, let's go ahead and hit the save. So easiest way to do that, go up to your quick access toolbar. I've actually turned autosave on, but you can always come up here to your quick access toolbar up in the top, hit the little floppy disk. Let's save our work. Always important to remember to save periodically to make sure you are not losing a significant amount of work in case something happens to that laptop of yours. All right. Next thing it tells us to do is to go ahead and take those formatting marks off. So I'm going to go ahead and select my little button that I have here to turn off my formatting marks. And you can see that that then goes back to what you would normally see as you are looking at your document. Okay, so you should now look like what is in figure 1-8, or the document I have up on my screen. All right, so let's move on to our next section. And now we're going to talk about how we format text using the mini toolbar. The mini toolbar is the little window that pops up each time you try to make a change. All right, so we're going to scroll down a little bit. We're going to go to step 1, which is the very first line. So a quick and easy way to always get back up to the top of your document is to hit the Control Home button. That's going to always take you up to the top of your page. Okay, step 1 says to select JCL Talent. Okay, so let's click on that. Select it. You can see that when I do that, this mini toolbar will appear. Okay, and just like you've got the functions up in your ribbon, you can make your changes to your font size, your formatting, bold, italic, underline. You can put highlighting on. You can change your decrease the font size or increase the font size. So those are some of the common things you're going to do in that quick access or that mini toolbar. Okay, as you scroll down, and as always, you can, if you don't know what a button does, say you're up here and you're trying to figure out what a button does, you can always hover over it and it will pop up a little menu for you that explains what that button is going to do for you, just in case you've got a question. All right, but with JCL Talent selected, you'll see that the mini toolbar then appears. We're going to go down to step 2. It says to increase the font size button. So get it selected. I apologize, when I click off to go over to the other window, it continues to take it back off. But step 2 says we're going to increase the font size button. Okay, that's your button that is right here with the uppercase A. It says to do that 6 times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 should get us to 24-point font. Then it says we're going to click the bold button to make it bold. All right, then we're going to click the italic button, which is right next to it, to make it italics. And then we're going to click the underline button, which is again right next to that, to put an underline underneath that. Okay, so now we have made that 24-point font bold, underlined, and italic. Okay, step 3 says we're going to click the center button in the paragraph group on the Home tab. So you need to make sure you've got your text selected. Here is our paragraph group up at the top of our window, and our center button is right there, second one in. We're going to center that onto our page. Okay, step 4 says we're going to change the case button in the font group and then click uppercase. All right, so up here, we're going to again get this selected. We're going to do a change case. So I'm actually going to come up here. Okay, our change case button is going to be right up here in our font group. As you hover over it, you can see it right there at the bottom of our font group. It says change case. If we hit our drop down arrow just to the right of it, it will bring up what our options are. Okay, and it says we're going to change that to uppercase to make everything capitalized. All right, if you wanted to go vice versa, all right, you could change that back to all lowercase. Sentence case will capitalize just the first letter, but we're going to make that uppercase. Okay, step 5 says to click the blank line between the RE line and the body of the text. So we're going to click here, and we want to put in a bottom border so we're going to go up to our paragraph group. Right at the bottom of our paragraph group here in the middle, you can see our borders button. We're going to select the little drop down arrow right to the bottom next to that. We would like a bottom border. Okay, you can see all your various border options that you've got right there. We're going to choose bottom border to put a border between our basically opening of our document and the actual text to make that a little bit more visually easy to understand what is going on. Okay, next thing we want to do is we want to save. So let's go back, go to our file. All right, you can see our options when we go to our file. We either want to do a save, which is going to save it as the same name that you saved it as before, which is what we would like to do, or you would do a save as if you wanted to change the name of your document. But in this case, we want to save it. Okay, the next thing it's going to do, we're actually not going to do, but this is also where you would go and perform any print. So you can see right here, you've got a print option. All right, if we were in our room, you would want to select the printer that I have in the room, and if I were to have you turn this in, that's where you would print it. Typically, I'm going to have you print on both sides of a sheet of paper to save paper in our classroom, but obviously we are not going to print at home. All right, so we don't have to worry about that at this point. Okay, but this area that we have here is called our backstage view, all right, and brings up all the information that we need to perform a print in case that is what we want to do. All right, so with our backstage view open, why don't we go ahead and hit the print button just so we see that it would look like. When you do that, you can see that it's going to bring up an image that shows you what your printed version might look like. All right, I'm going to increase my screen size a little bit here and move this over so that you can see what is in the bottom right-hand corner. Over here, you would see all your various print options, whether you want to print in a portrait or landscape format. Okay, landscape is going to be, if your document is wider than it is taller, you would want to print in landscape. Otherwise, you would want to print in portrait. Over here, you would choose what you want to choose from a paper perspective. If you wanted to view this document, make sure that it appeared all right. You've always got your zoom bar down here at the bottom. Okay, you can play with that and increase the size of that so you can see what something might look like. Right now I've got that at 120%. Okay, but that allows you to see the document and get a little better view of how it's going to appear should you choose to print. All right, but we are not going to print this document, so go ahead and just keep it saved. We're going to back out of the print. I'm going to go back to a minimized screen so that we can get our instructions back up. Move my window back over here. All right, so if you've got it saved, you can go ahead and hit the close button. So I'm going to do a file, scroll down here, and we can close. That should bring you back to a blank screen and ready to take on the next section of this chapter. Okay, so now we're going to get started on section 1-7, where we're going to talk about how we open up documents, how we can use the zoom in and zoom out features, and manage the document properties to better search for documents that we might have saved. Okay, so if you follow section 1-7, okay, step 1 says we're going to click on the File tab, click Open, and go to Browse, and we're going to find the data file il_wd1. All right, so we're going to go into Word. We're going to go to where we have retrieved our files for this class, where we saved it. So I told you to create a OneDrive folder for Computer Apps class. So we're going to go out there. So I'm going to click on File, come down here to Open. Okay, we're going to go to our OneDrive location. I'm going to browse. Okay, I'm going to go to my OneDrive folder. Hopefully you've got your computer applications folder then. We're going to go to Microsoft or Word. We're in Module 1. And we are working on our lessons. So we're going to look in our lessons folder. And there is the file that we're looking for. So we're going to double select that and hit Open. Okay, and should have brought up a file that's got a very nice looking brain on it. Okay, next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to manage my windows. Sorry, it's hard to move a window when you've got limited space on that bar to get it moved over. Okay, so with our document open, you should have an image that looks like this. Okay, we're going to move on to step 2. It says we're going to click the File tab, and again, it's very important to save these files with the exact name that they give you. Get in the good habit of that, because when we start turning in files for our assignments, it's going to look for the exact naming that it's given you to do the auto grading on it. Okay, so step 2 says we're going to click the File tab. We're going to click Save As. So let's make sure we're here. We're going to go to File. We're going to choose Save As. Okay, our Save As button is right there. All right, and we're going to go back out and make sure that we are saving our file in the folder that we have established for our class. Okay, once you get into there, we're going to make sure we've got that saved as il_wd_1 tip sheet. Okay. Step 3 says we're going to drag the vertical scroll box down until the bottom of the document is visible. So here is our vertical scroll box. We're going to go ahead and drag that down. I'm sorry, over here on the right hand side. I don't know what I was doing there. So we're going to scroll that down until we can see the bottom of our document is visible. All right. And again, over here, if you wanted to change your zoom, you've got your zoom button down here in the bottom right corner. If you want to change the size of that so you can make something a little bit more visible. Okay, step 4 says we're going to replace your name in the last sentence. You can see that right here with your name. All right, so let's go ahead and select that, get rid of it, type in your name. And now we want to go back up to the top of our document. So again, Control Home is going to be your quickest and easiest way to bring you back up to the top of a document. All right, step 5 says we're going to click the View tab. So up here at the top, we're going to look for our View tab. All right. And then click the Page Width button in the Zoom group. And again, I apologize, with a minimized window, sometimes that's going to be hard to see. So I'm going to increase the size of that. We're going to come back to our View tab. All right, within our Zoom tab, okay, within our Zoom group, I apologize, we're going to hit our Page Width button. If we hit that, it will expand it to its full size. All right. Okay, so with the page width full size, another thing that we can do is then go to our zoom button here on the top. Okay, we want to bring up our zoom window. We want to see our whole page to see how it would appear to a viewer. So let's click that whole page button and go ahead and hit OK. All right, so that would give us a view into what our entire page would look like. All right, so now I'm going to go back, minimize my screen so I can go back to our instructions for our next step. Okay, step 7 says we're going to move our zoom slider to kind of mess around with how that's going to appear. So I'm going to move that over so we can see our zoom slider down here in our bottom right corner. All right, you can hit your plus or minus to increase the zoom so that you can either see in more detail or see an entire page by decreasing the size. All right, so that's how you're going to change your views around so that you can see a document. Okay, step 8 says we're going to click the File tab to bring up our properties. All right, so let's come back here. Let's go to our File. So when we click on our File tab, we will then come down here to the Info. We'll select Info, and that will bring up all the information that we've got about our document right here. These can be defined so that you could put in search criteria that if you wanted to go and find a document, maybe we put in Microsoft Word if you want to search for all the files that you created in Word, or computer applications if you were searching for documents related to computer applications. All right, so step 9 says we're going to add a title box in the properties section. So if you come over here, you'll see that you've got a title line right here. We're going to add a title by left clicking over there to the right of it, and we're going to type tips. Okay, and then click anywhere outside of that, and you've added that title to this document. Let's click our back button, which is going to be up here in the top left, to return back to our home page. Okay, they then talk about the different views, which you can see down here on the bottom. All right, so if you were to click on the bottom, you would see that you can either put that into a full page read mode, print layout, which is how it would appear if you were to print it out, or your third mode, which is called web layout, which if you were creating a web document, this is how it would appear on a web page. Okay, but for the most part, we're typically going to stay in print layout so that you can see how things would appear when you print them out. All right, so those are the different views. So let's move to section 1-8, which is going to cover how we cut and paste text. Okay, when we are making changes, we can either, if we want to move something out of a document completely, we're typically going to cut it. If we want to move it from one section of a document to another, we're typically going to do a copy paste if we want to do copy it, or cut and paste if we wanted to move it around. Okay, so we're on step 1. We're going to make sure we're back on our home tab. Okay, we're going to turn on our show hide button so that we can see our editing marks. Step 2 says we're going to select tips for job seekers. Okay, the way I have this set right now, it's pretty hard to see this document. So I'm going to go ahead and increase the zoom. All right, we're going to select tips for job seekers, including the paragraph mark after it. Okay, and then we're going to hit the cut button. All right, the cut button is the little pair of scissors that you've got up here in the top left corner. So we're going to go ahead and hit cut, and you'll see that that disappears from your document on the right hand side, and it is now in the clipboard. So depending on what you want to do with it, you can now move that material around, and it is on your clipboard. Step 3 says to place the insertion point immediately before RU heading. Okay, so here's our RU heading. Said to place our cursor immediately before it and hit enter to create a blank line. All right, now it says to place the insertion point on that new blank line under JCL Talent. And then we're going to hit our paste button up here, and you'll see that it will put in the material that we just cut out from the other section of the document. That's how you would do a cut and paste and move material within your document. Okay, so you should now look like figure 1-13 there. All right, step 4 says we're going to place the insertion point in the blank paragraph below the "Are you emotionally intelligent?" So we've got a blank paragraph right here below "Are you emotionally intelligent?" We're going to press delete to get rid of that blank paragraph. And then select the body text, "Be aware of your own emotions." Okay, down here towards the bottom, you can see a line that says, "Be aware of your own emotions." I'm just going to select that line. Okay, so with this selected, okay, step 5 says to press and hold the mouse button or your left mouse button over the selected text and drag the pointer's vertical line to the beginning of "Control how you express." All right, so we're going to left click. You can see that you've got a little box associated with your pointer, meaning that you've grabbed and are moving a section of text, and then you're going to release the button. All right, and that's going to move your text right up there. So that is a different method of cutting and pasting, of dragging, basically dragging the text. Okay, so now we should look like figure 1-14. So let's say you've made changes or edits to a document and you didn't like what you did. Remember, up here in your quick access toolbar, you've always got that undo and redo option. Okay, so if you had moved that be aware of your own emotion and you didn't like what you had done, you can always hit your undo and it's going to move that back. If you then take a look at it and realize, you know what, I really did want that, you can then hit the redo arrow and it will put it back where you had moved it to. All right, so let's go ahead and save. And we are at our 30 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and pause there, letting everybody take a break before I do one last video to kind of finish out our Module 1 section. Thanks.